of Tucson sector, Rodolfo Parish. And with our interagency partners and key stakeholders, we're really honored to welcome you to U.S. Customs and Border Protection's Tucson Processing Center and to talk to you a little bit about our operations and the challenging and critical aspects of our mission where we care for families and children that have crossed the border and we've taken them into custody. Yesterday alone, there were 1,600 people that either crossed illegally between ports of entry or arrived at our ports, including 539 members of family units. So this continues to be a significant flow, major challenge, and we appreciate your support and engagement on this important issue. Thank you. Would you like to say any opening words?
Of course. Thank you, first of all, to have me here, and I want to thank you for all your hard work that you do. And I know how dangerous and difficult your daily jobs are. So I really appreciate all you do for, behalf of the country. And I'm looking forward for our discussion and to tour the facility. And I'm here to support you and give my help, whatever I can, for behalf of children and the families. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Mrs. Trump, you'll get to hear today from a lot of the stakeholders that we have in this area, people who live and work on this border, done this job for over 30 years. So you're going to get to hear from various people in the community today about the issues that we have here. From my perspective, serious enforcement of immigration laws is necessary. And there has to be consequences for violations of law, because if you don't have consequences, then I think at the end of the day what you have is you promote additional illegal activity. So it is a hard situation for the men and women of the Border Patrol. Today you're going to get a chance to tour one of our facilities and get a chance is to talk to frontline agents who are actually processing families, children, and some of the experiences that they've had. I will tell you also that people view this as a DHS or an HHS problem, but it's not. It's actually a whole of government problem that we have to try to fix. But it's going to involve definitely a lot of civil discussion, some actions, so that we can get to a solution on this border. Okay? I know that some of the men and women who work in DHS have been characterized as maybe cruel, heartless. That is not the case. You're going to see firsthand today of the amount of care that goes into the families, the children, of the people that we encounter here. You'll also have an opportunity to see the facilities where our folks work and where these individuals are housed. There's been a lot of misinformation that's been put out to the general public of the conditions of our facilities and how our people care for the immigrants that we do encounter. You are visiting Tucson sector, which is one of 20 Border Patrol sectors nationwide. Here in Tucson, we have 262 miles of border that we're responsible for. On average, we apprehend about 150 immigration violators per day, and that number can fluctuate. But I will also say, last year we finished off with 38,000 apprehensions. This year we've already passed the number. It's far from the days of the early 2000s when Tucson was making 500,000 arrests in this area. So it shows you that border control can be accomplished if you continue to devote the assets that you need. But the important piece of this today is we're very grateful that you're taking the time is to come out and see it firsthand, talk not only to our people, but also to these families. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to turn it over to Mike Humphreys from the Office of Field Operations.
Hi, so I'm Mike Humphreys. I represent CBP at the ports of entry in Arizona. There's a lot of misconceptions out there about the separation of family units and such. We've had about close to 3,000 family units. Just a couple have been separated, and they're very short separations. We've also had over 1,000 unaccompanied aliens. So those are ones showing up without family. And I think they get bunched into, since they're alone, that people think they were separated from the family. That never happened. some of the things we've gotten at the port of entry, we've really prevented potential instances of human trafficking where somebody shows up, claims to be a family unit, and then we find out that the children are in no way, not even a close relation to the adult in custody. And if those would have made it through, we don't know. They could have gone into some form of human trafficking. So we do prevent that. As Mr. Karras said, we give the utmost care to all coming in. We had a female that was 16 years old, was raped on the journey up from Central America. She had the baby here in our custody. We took her to the hospital, stayed with her the whole time. She did not have a family with her. So we do give the utmost care.
So how often do you see the children crossing alone without, an adult?
Yeah, in
And
Arizona,
what is the age?
In Arizona, since October 1st of 2017, at the ports of entry, the legal crossings, we've had 1,100 unaccompanied alien children enter into the Arizona ports of entry.
Or put this photograph
Yeah.
out in front of you, Mrs. Trump, so that you can see this 6-year-old boy was left in the desert out near Lukeville, Arizona. You can see that he's got a Coke
Yes,
bottle.
I see.
You can see he's got a note in his hand. We actually did a press release on this because people also have to understand the dangers of the desert, of the heat, of the violence that exists out there. So this is something that our people encounter on a daily basis, is seeing children that are put in, and families in very dangerous
It's
situations.
incredible, as young as 6 years old, somebody would leave him. Wow, very sad.
And in addition to all that, at the legal ports of entry, we facilitate trade and lawful entry of people. So people coming into our cities with foreign money to spend money here. So we have to facilitate that along with our anti-terrorism and our bringing in trade. So CBP collected over $40 billion in duties and taxes for the government budget last year. Nogales Port of Entry, which is just an hour from here, is the largest port of entry for the entry of vegetables into the U.S. market nationwide. So we play a very important part in that, along with processing of migrants, along with the enforcement of opioids. We've seized in just the Nogales Port of Entry this year over 2,000 kilograms of methamphetamines and several kilograms of fentanyl coming in, trying to make entry into the U.S. Thank you for coming out, and appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Mrs. Trump, you'll next hear from David Gonzalez, who's the U.S. Marshal here in Arizona.
Good morning, Ms. Hunt. Welcome to Arizona. I'm David Gonzalez. I represent the United States Marshal Service for the District of Arizona. And U.S. Marshal Service is the oldest federal law enforcement agency, created in 1789. But besides our primary function of arresting violent fugitives around the world and managing the Witness Protection Program, one of our primary jobs is the care, the handling, and maintaining of all the federal prisoners that have been charged by the U.S. Attorney's Office. All the hard work that Rudy's people do, let's say, for example, today they arrest 300 people on the border. He could maybe officially charge through the U.S. Attorney's Office maybe 75 of those, okay? And the rest are handled administratively by ICE. Now, I get those 75 prisoners into the Tucson courthouse in downtown. And we have processed those prisoners. They go to court, and a lot of those are sentenced the same day to streamline the project. And they are sentenced what we call STSers, short-term sentencing. Some are charged or sentenced to time served and released to be deported. Others might get 30, 60, 90, 80 days in jail, depending how many times they've been arrested before. And then we then put those people to serve their short-term sentence in several facilities, usually in the southern Arizona area. And besides just housing them, we take care of their health care issues, which can be very expensive. A lot of the individuals, border patrol arrest, have medical issues that we take care of. We do a lot of surgeries. We have nurses and doctors at these facilities to examine them, and we take great pride in doing everything we can to maintain the health and stability of the federal prisoners that we receive that are charged federally. The majority that come from the Border Patrol. For example, here in Arizona, last fiscal year, for approximately 15,000 prisoners on just immigration charges that were processed through here. Nationally, there have been about 58,000 prisoners charged federally through the system by the U.S. Attorney's Office. It is estimated that we'll get about 90,000 this fiscal year from the hard work that the Border Patrol does.
Thank you.
Ma'am, next you're going to hear from Jesse Williams, who is the Deputy Field Operations Director for ICRO.
Good morning, Mrs.
Morning.
Trump. My agency is responsible for the interior enforcement of immigration laws, and also we run detention facilities where we take care for these families that are being detained, and also for the adults, and we do provide a full spectrum of services. We do have 2 family residential centers where we have a full complement of medical, and also we have a school system that goes from K through 12. Initially, these family units are detained for less than 20 days on average, maybe 6 or 7 days. During that time, their children are fully cared for, inoculated, and they go through the immigration court process. We do have 2 adult detention facilities here in Arizona, and my office is responsible for the full state of Arizona.
Great. Thank you.
And we also have Dan Bell, who's here, local rancher in Arizona. Family's been here for a long time. So Dan.
So thank you for coming, Mrs. Trump. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to listen to our concerns. I'm going to put a little different spin on things. Our family's been ranching on that same piece of country down in Nogales, Arizona, just west of the city of Nogales, since 1938. So I'm a 3rd generation. I'm raising the 4th generation. We operate between the ports of entry. So we have 10 miles of actual international boundary with Mexico. And I'm here today to advocate for more access along the border. We operate on federal lands where we ranch, and there really is no access to the international boundary. But the positive things that we've seen over time is access has been garnered in certain areas, and we've gotten a bollard fence installed on a 2-mile section. Another 2 miles, we've had a road installed where technology was placed, which allows the boots on the ground to get closer to the border to do their job. But I guess my message to you would be there would be no silver bullet to take care of the situation. It's what Chief Karish talked about. We need to have the ability to get to the border. We need to have the ability to have the boots on the ground to make the apprehensions. We need to have the judicial mechanisms in place. We need to have the consequence programs. All of that needs to come together so we can make a difference. And where we've seen this happen over time with the Tucson sector, where the judicial mechanisms have been applied and consequences have been applied, and we see the rate of recidivism way down. We see less traffic coming through. But that's not to say that the issue's over, because there's still about 6 miles of our ranch and my neighbor's ranches to the further west and other neighbors' ranchers to the east, where a lot of this traffic has been pushed as a result of the ability to stop it. So we still need a lot to do in that respect. And coming from a small community of Nogales, you heard we rely on legal trade coming through that port of entry. So I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that our community relies on the legal trade coming through those ports of entry. And so anything, message you can take back would be greatly appreciated.
Will do. Thank you.
Now, Mrs. Trump, I actually want to point you to Joy Silva. She's one of our agents out here in Tucson. So you can hear from her perspective of someone who goes out there every day to perform her job, her encounters with people, different situations. So, Joyce.
Good morning, Mrs. Trump.
Good morning.
I've been a Border Patrol agent for over 20 years. I'm originally from New York City, and I moved to Tucson to join the Border Patrol. And I love my job. And as a mother, it hurts to see the children. They don't really know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so our main concern is to remove them from that element of the desert, that dangerous element, and bring them to a safe environment where they have food, water, toys if they want it, and just take care of them. there's a lot of parents in the Border Patrol, and we really care for the children. And there's a lot of agents that take out to the field extra food and extra toys. We've given them our lunch also out there in the field because they need it and they don't really understand what's going on.
Yes. Thank you so much for all what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional questions that you may have, you can either do it now, or we'll have also time as we're walking through the facilities. So I definitely want to thank all of you for attending today. I think this is very beneficial, is to have you here, is to see firsthand the challenges that we go through. Immigration enforcement is a very complex issue, and I think we all need to come together is to try and solve this issue. So thank you very much.
I agree. Thank you. Thank you very much.